father. I want to thank Paul Malone for really taking initiative and making sure that this street, not this street, but this street, was named Frank Skala Way. And I do agree with Ed. He would find it a terrific thing that from now into eternity, people have to explain to their children who Frank Skala was. So I want to thank Senator Avella, who was the councilman, I believe, when Frank was appointed to Community Board 11, and Assemblyman Ed Braunstein, who is here and worked with Frank for many years. So I was director of community boards when Frank used to come as a guest to Community Board 11. I see Christine Haber for Board 11. He was a fighter. We all know that. We also know, and someone said to me right before this, if he believed in you, you had to get out of the way because you were going to be successful. And the one thing I loved about Frank, and I know we're going to hear a lot of funny stories about Santa Claus at Christmas, about wearing red, about the fight that he had in him, but I will tell you, after being in this business 25 years, I respected Frank Skala enormously. And I respected him because he knew the fight to have. He knew when to have that fight. He knew when it was good, and he knew how to get things done. But when you walked off the floor, at least to me, he was such the perfect gentleman to me. And so for that, I wanted to simply come and say thank you to Frank for the many, many years I've known him and for getting so much done in this community while still showing really to be an honorable man. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We already mentioned him, so Senator Avella, if you want to come up and say a few words as well.
First of all, I want to thank our Borough President Melinda KATZ for coming out here today. And I want to thank Councilman Malone and Community Board 11 for helping make this happen. I can't remember when the first time I met Frank. I hate to say how old we both are, but it's got to be at least 30 years before, even before I was ever elected to public office. I started as a civic activist, and that's what Frank was. And when you think about Frank and all the other people who are involved in the community, Bayside is what it is because Frank stood up and fought the good fight, sometimes alone, to preserve the character of this neighborhood. And that's why this sign is so important that people from now on will come by and look at it. Bonnie, come up for a second. Bonnie, who, by the way, is now taking over Frank's spot. I've already heard from her numerous times, but I was very happy before he passed away to give him the Senate's highest award, which is the Liberty Medal. And I did that because we have to recognize people who, day after day, year after year, but decade after decade, have made our community what it is, and Frank certainly did that. He was contentious, you know, and we all had our battles, but we all knew that he was always working for the community and his neighborhood, and we'll never forget him. And just congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
He loved this medal so much, and I remember what a thrill it was that he was the first person that gave it to. And it wasn't even in alphabetical order that day. He was the first, he was such an egomaniac about that. So he wore this with him like an Olympic medal around town, and he really had it up until a month later he was in the hospital. And this meant so much to him at the time, so thank you for having him. Thank you.
Thank you. So, all right, so also, stepping out of the spotlight, my sister leaving me to do it, Chris HAIDER from Community Board 11. You want to come up and say a few words? Chris?
I just want to say that I'm very proud to be here and very proud that we, Community Board 11, was able to help get this street renamed for Frank. And as it said in the, some of the people in the past have said, Frank was a great, great fighter for his community. And I learned to respect him and admire him, and we became friends. And in the end of it all, he did have a heart. He He had a true heart beating within underneath that exterior surface, and he didn't want to let that show too often, but he did. And I would like to think that on his birthday today, that this is an apt time to have this dedication. And I would also like to think that Frank is up there right now, looking down on us, keeping an eye on his community.
And Dave BRESSLER, you, Dave? Sure, yeah, please.
Thank you, Ed. It's good to see a good turnout today, and Frank did so many things for so many people in this community. I just wanted to share a story of how Frank personally helped my family. Those of you from Community Board 11 might remember when Bayside High School put on a flashing sign across the street from O'Connor
The
Park.
Las Vegas sign, yeah?
And my parents lived right across from the park, and I was newly elected to the community board at the time, and my mother was so upset about this sign. And I can understand why I was upset about the sign. You look across the street, it looked like a casino what was once a park, but it only affected a few homes. And I didn't know how to get something about this fixed, so at the community board, when it was time for public speaking, I just brought it up that this sign was hurting the character of the community and it was upsetting to many people. And I just threw it out there, and the one person who took up that issue was Frank. And Frank did it even though he had a close relationship with Bayside High School, and there was a potential that he might ruffle some feathers by taking on that issue. And he in his own way, he got press attention for the issue. He went around, collected signatures from people in the neighborhood, and he brought so much attention to it that there was people looked into it and they found out it was illegal. And forever, my family will be grateful for Frank that sign was taken down. So that was the kind of thing Frank would do. There was no issue too small, and he did that time and time again for issues throughout this community. Finally, just one more point I want to make, and I think the elected officials will agree. While Frank was quick to criticize us if he disagreed with us or if he felt we weren't doing the right thing, he was just as quick to say something nice or encouraging. I lived here on 40th Avenue for 5 years while I was in office, and Frank would drive his little red car down the block to go get his papers down here at the smoke shop. And if he saw me on my stoop, he would pull over and we would talk. And a lot of times he would say something nice or encouraging. And for a newly elected official, having someone like that from the community say something nice really meant a lot. So Frank will be missed. We're all grateful for his contributions to this community. And I look forward to when I take my two sons down Bell Boulevard to pointing to that sign and telling them about all the things Frank did for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think, I'm not sure if there's any other elected officials around here that
I know
say
my friend
things.
David wants to say something.
Oh, your friend David?
Yes, on the paper.
Oh, Dave BRESSLER, yeah, please, yeah, yeah. Dave, yeah.
Well, it's an honor to be here today. Full disclosure, I unfortunately did not know Frank, but I'm good friends with his daughter, Bonnie. And through Bonnie, I heard so much about him, his tireless effort, his outspokenness. But like what Senator AVELLA said, he did it in a civil way. And I'm new to politics. I'm going to be running against Ed BRAUNSTEIN this year. But I promised myself that it's going to be a civil tone, just the way Frank wanted it, okay? No, nothing personal, because we know the national tone today is very, very vicious and getting very personal, and I want to stay away. I want to talk about issues, just like Frank did. And Bonnie always told me he stood up for what he believed, and he never got personal with anyone, and that's why everyone's here today, honoring him. It's not Bell Boulevard anymore, right? It's Frank Skala Way Boulevard, right? But what a legacy. Thousands of people every day are going to look up at Frank, and you can't be left with a better honor. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Bonnie, for inviting me. It's been an honor. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, do you want to... Come on, sir.
Hi everybody, Jordan Goldis with Congresswoman Grace Meng. The Congresswoman couldn't be here in person, but she wanted to mark this memorable occasion and express her support for Frank Skala Way. During the October meetings of the East Bayside Homeowners Association every year, Frank would give out these community service awards And I am proud to have been the 2009 recipient. Still have it on my wall, still honored and still cherish it. I just want to echo everything that's been said. Frank was truly one of a kind. Can't say enough about how much he was dedicated to this community, and this is going to be a great way to remember all he did. Thank you very much in regards to the Congressman.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Al Masafi. I had the pleasure and distinction of working with Frank, as well as B, of course, when I first started beginning teaching at 1967 at Campbell Junior High School. And he was a staunch supporter of the unions, which unfortunately has taken a hit recently. But he was a dear friend, and I was proud to work with him. Just one correction. That sign should really say Frank Skala Way or the highway. Just saying. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, all right. So, I'll say a couple more remarks, and I guess we'll unveil the sign in a second. But as was mentioned earlier, today would have been my dad's 81st birthday. So I know for everyone that's done stuff here to make this happen on his birthday and to have it happen on a Saturday, took a lot of effort, and we are very appreciative of that. We're very appreciative of everyone, the elected officials and the local leaders and everyone here that was friends with my dad, for all you've done for us and our family. Being a child of Frank Skala was a unique thing growing up. I learned many valuable lessons, one of which is you can get yelled at for anything and it really shouldn't bother you. But I was saying earlier in the crowd, as we were talking about my dad, the thing, if I had to characterize my dad about something, my dad was just relentless. If he saw something that he believed in, he didn't matter if it was popular or unpopular, he was going to fight for it. And the thing that mattered most to my dad, beyond his family, was this community. And everyone that's here, you're here because this community means something to you. And that's fantastic. I've lived on the same street in Arlington, Virginia for 20 years now, and I don't know the names of any of my neighbors. But when I come up to my home, which is Bayside, I see everyone that I know, I see the people that know my family, and this is home, and it's always going to be home. And thanks to the efforts of everyone's going to know it's home for Skalas, and for the people that Bayside matters a lot to, they're going to know that the guy that tried the hardest to keep this quality of life that we are lucky enough to enjoy here this way intact was my dad, and you've done him a great honor, and we couldn't be more proud. So thank you for the help of everyone. Appreciate it.
I was going to say something really quick, but of course I wrote it down because I can't remember anything, and I'm going to talk too fast, so tell me to slow down.
And talk louder.
Yes, my father loved speeches. His favorite thing at parties was speeches. He didn't care about the food. He didn't want any music. He wanted people to talk and talk about him. So I want to say a few words. Just thank you so much. I'm Bonnie, Frank's daughter. On behalf of my family, we do thank all of you for joining us today. Councilor at Vallone's office, Lionel Morales, is here, and Senator AVELLA, and Representative for Grace Meng's office, and my friend David BRESSLER is here, candidate for Assembly. Gregg Sullivan, our unofficial mayor of Bayside, is here. I appreciate all of your help, and some of Dad's, longest, closest friends from back in the day. Leo Honig came here, one of his friends from college. The Weddingfeld family also is here today, so we're thankful that you came to share your time with us. We are thrilled to be here. My father would love this. He would be so excited about this. Of course, he would exclaim that it took long enough, and he would mention that Helen Marshall got hers in 9 months, but she was a borough president, so that was a little bit different. Today would have been Grandpa Frank's 81st birthday. My family gets together every year on his birthday. We go to Bourbon Street right across the way to celebrate his birthday, so it was important for us to have this ceremony on his day here. And what a present he receives today for number 81. The sign was installed yesterday. We got a couple of phone calls that the wrong way, which is giving me flashbacks of when he had his funeral up in Mount Hope Plain ceremony when they dug the wrong grave. So I really I'm trying not to twitch about these things, but I just think it's he would have wanted the Boulevard versus the Avenue. So this is if the city doesn't object, I don't think Ed or I or my family objects either. But I think this is Dad's doing. He's got some kind of like Jedi grandpa mind trick going on to these poor, DOT employees yesterday to make them have it aimed the wrong way. But they actually moved the 40th Avenue sign down to install that, so he wasn't third in a row, he was second. So, but I don't know how he did it, but he pulled it off. But to honor my father here today is really to honor the decades of the volunteer work that he did for his beloved hometown. It also honors my family. It honors his parents, his grandparents, my mother, my Uncle Al, my aunt, my brother, me, my husband, and my children. Those who love him and miss him the most. And they shaped, the person who he was. So Frank could be a difficult man. He was loud and he was passionate and he was opinionated, and when he took a stance, he never backed down from it. This delighted many, but it infuriated others. But I'm almost surprised there aren't picketers here today who are mad about
Give
things
it
like,
time.
like no street fairs, and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And, ripped homework from the 1960s. But had there been, that would have tickled him, delight also. So Dad always fought the good fight. So again, anyone who knew him know there was only one way, and that was the Frank Skala way. So happy birthday, Dad. Thank you.
You want to see? We've got one more longtime family friend, Teddy Leperidis.
40 years. I love you. Being a teacher, and being a teacher for 52 years, there isn't anything more important to us than the first day on the picket line and holding up that sign for the union. Frank was that union. He has unified every one of us, and we're all his family. He raised two phenomenal kids, dedicated to his grandchildren, dedicated to his son-in-law, and to everything that they believe in. It came out of his mind and his mouth and his heart. And with B by his side, there isn't anything that they couldn't do. So we're looking up at Frank Skala's sign. We're also looking up, knowing that he's looking down, giving us this day. It's not raining. And you know what? In each one of your little homes, just remember him every so often, because you know what? If it wasn't for Frank Skala, there'll never be another Frank Skala. And if he were, he couldn't do what their dad did. So God bless them, and wish them all the best.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess we...
All right, I think my dad's waited long enough. He wants you all to see his name up on the sign.
If this says John Smith Road, I'm just going to
So, we need to put this on. So, I don't know. Yeah, that's it.
So we have to pull it sideways.
Go ahead.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Thank you for putting up with my dad. And when the sign gets